Guys, thank you very much for listening to the Photography Bar podcast. If you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and TikTok, as well as our Patreon, all of which will be linked in the show notes. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast apps such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And with all that said, let's head to the bar.
Hello, everyone. Well, before we get stuck into the main podcast episode, we just wanted to have a quick chat with you about the upcoming photography show at the NEC on the 16th to the 19th of March, 2024. We do have 20% off on the entry ticket, so do have a look in our show notes for the discount code. But Cam, quickly, what's going on at the show?
Okay, well, this is the perfect place, Mark, to browse kit. There's more than 250 brands on the floor this year, so you can get your hands on kit, which is going to be absolutely great. Loads of discounts. So this is the place to get your discounts if you want to buy in a year. Plenty of live demos as well. Nikon School, Canon Spotlight, and a whole host of others as well. So this is the place to go. NEC, the 16th and 19th of March. Get your tickets, get your discount.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Photography Bar podcast. For those who have exquisite ears, probably have noticed that my voice is not quite the same today. Yes, I've come down with the dreaded man flu. I did catch it from my wife, though, so yeah, I blame her, basically. But Cam, I think you're feeling a bit under the weather as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I have been. I did have a bit of a cold. In fact, I'm opening up. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? A throat and chest soothing menthol lozenge I've got. And I think we're both going to be. I've definitely got a cough that I've struggled to get away with. It's not an infection. I've had it checked, which is all good. But yeah, it's so not the ideal time to do a podcast. But hey, we soldier on.
We soldier on for you, lovely listeners. I think we're going to be pressing the mute button a few times, though, won't we, today? So let's put our mouses over the mute button if you think we can. Because I'm sneezing and coughing, and you're doing the same.
If we suddenly go quiet or something happens or we do start coughing, it's because we've forgotten to turn the mic off, which I'm about to do now and have a cough.
Okay, well, I'll just see if I can. That was seamless, absolutely seamless. I'm just going to see if I can fill a bit of airtime while Cam's coughing. We can't be doing this all podcast. I really hope not. But anyway, we are professionals, obviously, and we're going to carry on. So before we get into the stories, obviously you heard obviously about the discount that we're offering with the photography show. But we have a bit more news about the photography show, don't we, Cam?
We do, in that the photography show have just announced that Adobe also joins the exhibitor lineup. Says we're delighted to announce that Adobe will be joining the 2024 exhibitors on the show floor. And it goes on to say, while many of the brands like to keep us guessing as to what they'll showcase kit-wise, we've had some exciting snippets of info coming through from Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fujifilm, Vanguard, Ilford, Hobelite, Godox, and photo studio sponsor. That's that Hanumal, however you say it, Mark. I don't know.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Right. So remember to visit the. Yeah.
I was going to say, even more reasons to go. And please do check out that discount that we've got on our link. So it's in the show notes. So if you do want to go, we've got a discount for you. So yeah, use that link and get your tickets while they're there.
Good stuff. Okay. So, Mark, we have a new king in this country, don't we, in the UK?
Yes, me. No.
Yes. Okay. Well,
no, I'm king joking. Sorry. Hey.
Oh, dear. Okay. So obviously, after the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles III took over, and I'm sure you've seen it. You may just not remember, but I know that when I've been to some government buildings, that I would see a portrait of the Queen hanging up on some walls. Definitely the local register office, all sorts of different buildings. They would have a portrait of the Queen.
Yeah. I have.
Have you come across that?
I'm pretty sure I have. I mean, I can't remember what the portrait is, but I seem to remember there being one there. It's kind of part of literally part of the furniture, isn't it?
It is. That's right. Yeah. Well, you are now going to start seeing unsurprisingly, pictures of our king.
Yes.
And but it's causing a little bit of a stir.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's causing a little bit of a stir because there is a shocking price tag for the official portrait for UK buildings. Now, I'm not going to ask you how much, okay? But it says the UK Cabinet Office has defended a monarch portrait project, which has been labelled a shameful waste of money by critics.
Okay.
A new official portrait of King Charles III that will hang in public buildings in the UK has been unveiled. The photograph, which was taken by Society photographer Hugo Bernand in Windsor Castle, it was taken 2023 last year, and shows the king in full military regalia. Okay, so very similar to the Queen's portrait. It's the formal portrait you would have. And so local councils, schools, courts.
It's his LinkedIn profile picture, isn't it? That's
right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, police forces. So those people can apply for it. So public authorities, local councils, courts, schools, and police forces can apply for a free framed portrait. And it says with delivery of the 64 centimeter by 51 centimeter portrait expected to take place between February and April. So now photographers speak in inches mainly. Is that right, Mark?
Yes.
So what is 64 centimeters? What is 64 centimeters in inches? Could you look that up for me, please, while I carry on with this?
Well, I can try looking it up. I was just trying to see if I'd know. But blokes and inches, we often mismeasure. So
yeah, that's right. So
64 centimeters, was it?
Yeah.
In inches. Okay. All right. It's 25.197 inches. So it's about 25 inches, basically.
Okay. So it's going to be something like 2420 or something.
Yeah,
like that,
something along those lines. Yeah.
With a mount, with a crest, with a frame, it's going to be a sort of a fair size.
Yeah.
And not anybody can have it. Okay. There are certain, government places, official places, official places. As it
so I can't have one then. I can't have one. No, I can't have one. Oh, okay.
Okay. They can apply to have it for free. Now, as we know, nothing is for free.
No.
Okay. So this is the Cabinet Office that announced last year that it had set aside funds to offer every public body a portrait of King Charles. So,
right.
And here's where we come down to the cost of it. Okay, because these places can apply for free. I love the way they throw in that it's free. You can apply for a free portrait.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you how much it is. The cost of having the face of the monarch hanging on the wall as part of this government-funded scheme is ta-da, £8 million.
Whoa! For the entire project, though, this isn't like per building.
No.
For
the entire project, right?
The entire project is going to cost £8 million.
That's what they put aside for it. Now they might find that they use up that £8 million fairly quickly because a lot of people apply for the free portrait.
Yeah, it's not.
They might find a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I mean, £8 million is obviously a lot of money. I don't think I'll ever have £8 million of my own. But in the skip, because every time you hear about government projects and stuff, you always see it's billions now, isn't it? It's never millions. It's always billions. So 8 million in the scheme of government projects is probably not that much. However, I can understand why people maybe are a little bit miffed about it when we've got food banks on in every city. So, yeah.
It says here, it says, considering the country is still in the throes of a major economic crisis, the initiative has faced strong criticism, especially from the, surprise, anti-monarchy group Republic, which sees the initiative as antiquated and described it as a shameful waste of money.
Well,
at a time when a majority of local councils are raising taxes and cutting public services, when schools and colleges and hospitals are struggling to spend even £1 on this and to spend even £1 on this nonsense would be £1 too much.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, people like that, I don't have. I mean, they have an agenda. They don't want the monarchy. They want to be a republic. So of course, it would have been shock horror if they actually liked the idea. So that's they were always going to say that. I understand we are in a difficult situation economically as a country at the moment. I don't think we are, where we used to be. I'm noticing things are more expensive. Like I said, we've got food banks going on, and obviously the schools and the NHS. But you know what? That £8 million would just get swallowed up by the NHS. I don't think it would do anything for the NHS,
I
because
think if
to solve the NHS, you need billions and billions. 8 million is going to do naff all, I think.
I also
Uh,
think a lot of, I think
but
also think a lot, and you've got to be careful we don't go into different subjects here.
yeah,
I think a lot of money is wasted by the NHS and the
yeah,
way
yeah,
that it's
yeah,
actually
yeah,
run.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so and I do believe that there is more than enough money that goes into the NHS. It's just how that money is used.
It's used. Yeah, no, I understand that. But my point is, £8 million in government projects terms
Mm,
is a drop in the ocean.
mm,
I know that sounds crazy because, like I said, are you ever going to have £8 million in your bank account? I'm
mm,
probably never going to have that in my bank account. So,
mm,
when it seems to, but I don't know. It's kind of weird because we are a monarchy country. That's who we are. Um, I know, the amount of money that's spent on flags and things like that must be somewhat similar, I'm guessing. If you think about all the castles and all the public places that have the Union Jack, and then it's the St. George's Cross, and it's the Welsh Dragon, and the Scottish flag. Um, they all have, I'm sure that's about £8 million as well. So
mm.
there is an element of, what do you put a price on culture, I guess. Um, I really don't care if the portrait the Queen, the King rather, is up in these places or not. It doesn't bother me. I'm not anti-monarchy either,
Mm,
but it's not going to ruin my life if it's not there. However, said that though, it is the basis of this culture of our country, that we are all citizens of, and that is part and parcel of it. And
mm. Yeah.
what can you
And
put a price on your culture? I don't know.
mm,
I'm not saying
no,
that's right or wrong. It's just a question, really.
the thing is there is always going to be money that's going to be used like that, and if we had a say in every single penny that was spent, then I think a lot of cultural things wouldn't exist. So
Yes,
you're right.
absolutely.
It is part of culture. So
Yeah, culture's very important. I mean, the
mm,
reason that we're employed and the
mm,
reason that we do what we do is because we create image.
mm,
I remember saying when we first started this podcast, I think I probably said because it was the pandemic when I started
mm,
being on here, and I think one of the things I did say is, guys, I've really now have understood how how unimportant my job is to society, because I'm not doing anything. My
mm,
wife works in a pharmacy. She was
mm,
working. All the NHS, they were working. Tesco's, people working in Tesco's, they were necessary for our society. Me as a photographer, actually, for survival, I'm not needed.
mm,
I'm not needed. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have photographers and we shouldn't have these elements of culture, because they are important. It's about life enrichment. We shouldn't have food banks. We shouldn't be, I don't know, we're the
of
fifth or
course we
sixth
shouldn't.
richest economy in the world. I mean,
Of
that
course we
to me
shouldn't.
is, yeah, it's something like that. We are a
Mm,
very rich Western country. The fact that we've
mm.
got food banks is money mismanagement by our government, not by the people using it. Just to be sure on that.
Yeah.
The fact that we've gone down that route, and
Mm,
that the government can't help people and it has to be
mm,
food banks is crazy. That is money mismanagement by our,
mm.
and that's not a anti-Tory, it's not an anti-Labour, it's across the board. So,
Yeah.
um,
But let's
but yeah, sorry, I have gone
let's
off.
bring
But
it
my
back
point,
to
yeah,
photography.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, but my point is, I think my point is that, can you put a price on these cultural things? We
Mm,
have museums. How much? The National Portrait Gallery. I mean,
mm.
am I right in saying taxpayers subsidise some of these galleries that we
They
have?
must do because it's
They
free to get into the
Yeah, because
National
it's free to
Portrait
get
Gallery.
into. Okay,
Mm,
so how much do we spend on things like the National Portrait Gallery?
yeah.
Is that important? Sorry, I know it
It's
felt like I
cult.
was
Yeah.
going off
You're
on a
right.
tangent, but
Mm,
these food banks are here and they shouldn't be there, but yet we're still spending taxpayers' money on the National Portrait Gallery. Well, where do you stop? Okay, so we don't want £8 million spent on the King's portrait being in these
mm,
buildings, although it is part of our national heritage, our culture, that we
mm,
have a monarchy. Okay, so you don't want that. Okay, so next one is, well, we don't need this National Portrait Gallery thing, do we? I mean, there's people starving. Well, yes, I understand, but we should be able to have both.
yeah.
And if the arts, remember again, back in COVID, the arts got hit, and the
Mm,
arts are massively, massively important to our culture. And we are more than just
social well-being. Yeah.
social well-being, and absolutely, mental health and all that kind of stuff. All those things that aren't tangible like money is, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah.
You can't really sort of count it. But no, I think £8 million, as I said, is a drop in the ocean as far as government expenditure is concerned. So it's not going to do much else. Do I think there shouldn't be food banks? Of course, there shouldn't be. Should people be more helped with the way things are? Yes, I do. But that doesn't mean it should be at the expense of culture, because culture for me is really, really important to our country.
Yeah, and now let's bring it back to photography, because I could could have a whole conversation about that, Mark. And I
Yeah.
agree with everything that you've said. The actual photographer, though, was, as I said, was Hugo Bernand. And now we've mentioned Hugo Bernand before, going back many episodes ago, when Kate and William got married, because he was a photographer for their wedding. That's,
I mean, he's got a
2011.
good family gig there, isn't he? I mean, that's the
He
sort of
has.
gig we all want, isn't it?
It's a bit of repeat business there.
Yeah,
And
very good repeat business.
former Tatler photographer. He says he's tackling the coronation. He did that. He followed in the footsteps of Cecil Beaton, and Cecil Beaton, who famously photographed the late Queen when she was crowned in 1953. So it looks like Hugo is the go-to person for the royals. He'll be the one that is on their speed dial.
Very lucky
Whenever
Hugo.
they need, and definitely, and recent portraits and photos that I've seen of the royal family, a lot of them they've taken themselves. As we know, Kate is a keen photographer.
Yes, she is.
They're trying to bring everything up to date. They're trying to bring their style and be far less formal and all of and all of that. Not being so stuffy, because that's just the way styles are going in general. That's what everyone wants. And this actual portrait that he's taken of the king is very formal, because that's really what it's supposed to represent. And you still need to have that formal element of photography as well. But he himself, former Tatler photographer, very well known within that sort of, I suppose, a higher society.
Yeah.
Type of world that he lives in. But fair play to him. Good luck to him. Yeah. And if he's got that gig, then fair play.
Well, yeah,
and he must be very good to have got that as well. So, but whether you agree with it or not, the King's picture is going to be out there. You might well see it, and I think when you do see it next time, you go into a government building or a police station or somewhere.
I don't think it's in every police station.
Your school's parents' evening, you see it happening up in school. You'll know that the school didn't actually pay anything because they got it for free, but you know that how much money was set aside for that. And
what I would say,
you'll have your own opinion, and you'll have your own opinion on that as well. So, Mark, I'm going to desperate need for a drink, and another cough sweet as well. So, Mark, you've come across a story which is quite interesting, but it's not the actual story you want to talk about, is it?
No. So, I was looking. Obviously, I'm always browsing these sites, and I saw this article on Petapixel, and it was one of those. My wedding photographer wasn't very good stories, and this wedding photographer, it wasn't just one couple, it was a few couples. They do name the photographer. I'm not going to do that because that's not what I really want to talk about. We always see these stories, don't we? They get more clicks and likes than the stories of how wonderful my wedding photographer was, but that's by the by. But it was one of the comments on this story that really got me thinking. So I'm not going to name who the comment was or anything like that, but it just got me thinking. So here we go. It's the first part of it. Big problem in event photography in general, and weddings in particular, is there is no barrier to entry at all. So essentially what they're saying is anyone can set up a photography business and say they're a wedding photographer. It's not like he then goes on to say, if you want to be an Uber driver, you have to have a driver's license. And I guess, and I was thinking, yeah, but everyone has to have a driver's license to drive a car. But if you want to be a lawyer, you got to be on the bar, haven't you? You can get debarred if you've done something bad. Not anyone can be a police officer. You have to be trained and you have to be certified. An electrician and a gas certificates. If you want to be a gas engineer, you have to have a gas safety certificate. If you're an electrician, you have to have an electric safety certificate. I'm guessing, I don't know the actual term, but you have to have these standards, these basic standards that this person is competent at their job. Now, I'm not talking about wedding photography. Sorry, I'm not talking about photography in general. I'm talking about specifically wedding photography because, you've got one chance to get it right. It's not like other, if you got a product photography system shoot wrong, you can redo it. It's a pain in the bum for the client. It's a pain in the bum for you, but nevertheless, it can be redone. However, with a wedding, you got one shot, and if you mess it up, you mess it up. So it's quite an important job to get right, and there is no sort of basic standard for a photographer to advertise their work. There's no certificate, there's no badge, there's no license or whatever it is. And I just wondered, do we need one? Should we have one? I mean, what do you reckon, Cam?
Corgi, that's the gas.
Thank you. That's the one. Yes,
isn't it?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, if you want to be a plumber. Anyway, okay, so I think going back a few years ago when you had the MPA, Master Photographers Association, BIPP, which these boards still exist, you would submit some work, and then you would get some qualifications and some letters after your name, whatever those, I can't remember exactly what they were.
Yeah.
Going back years ago, there was this real sort of push for, that you are a member of the MPA, you're a member of the BIPP.
Yeah.
And I think generally people were more aware of that. However, I think nowadays, I don't think anyone looking for a wedding photographer even remotely thinks about whether this person that they're thinking of using or is going to use is qualified in any way at all. They're purely looking at that photographer's images. That's all. That's basically what they're basing their decision on, and price. Other than that, they don't care whether this photographer has got a master's in photography, a PhD
and probably personality as well,
right?
I guess,
and personality.
That's some sort
of... Okay, so are they relevant? Would they be relevant? Only if it was a government qualification. Only if it was a government thing. That's the only way that it could be done. But but I was going to say, if somebody set up something like the MPA, no, the MPA is already there. The BIPP is already there. They do really good stuff, and I think they really help photographers really push themselves. But do they help land people a wedding photography shoot? No, I don't think so.
No.
I really don't.
The only thing I'd say about people like is the BIPP, you got the MPA, you got societies as well. You don't have to have an entry sort of qualification, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I was really fortunate because I got into wedding photography purely by sort of accident, really. Well, not by accident. Somebody had approached me and said, do you fancy, coming out to doing wedding photography with me? He was already a very established wedding photographer.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was going out. I'd been out for 3 years with him, 3 summers, unpaid. And he was showing me what to do. And then he said to me, right, you need to shoot your first wedding on your own.
I'm guessing that partly is. I mean, the thing is, you're talking about with the MPA and BIPP and societies and all that, it wasn't a legal requirement. It's not like you have to have this thing before you can advertise yourself as a wedding photographer. Unlike an Uber driver, you cannot advertise yourself as an Uber driver if you don't have a car license.
No, that's right.
And you cannot advertise yourself as a lawyer, I think, unless you're on the bar. I don't know if that's the right phrase. But you know what I mean. So I don't know. It's possible that, those jobs, being behind the wheel of a car is more life and death, I guess, than a wedding photographer. But like I said, a wedding photographer, you got to get it right on the day. That's what makes wedding photography, I think, very unique compared to all the other disciplines of photography. I guess fashion on the carpet or whatever, but event photography, and in particular wedding photography, is very unique compared to everything else because you've got to get it right on the day, on the night. It's got to be right. So it needs to be something that is specific to that, and it cannot be something that is an opt-in. For it to work and to be, what we're discussing here, it has to be something that's a necessity to have. My photography degree doesn't really tell anyone that I'm good at wedding photography. It just says I've got a degree. It doesn't say I'm good at organizing groups and arranging
Mm.
groups of people. It doesn't say I'm good at, because you're basically organizing the day, aren't you? The wedding.
Well, actually, yeah, and that's a good point,
that's the
because
thing.
that's what I was gonna come on to next, because you just sort of saying about, that having done a university degree, people don't know if you're a good wedding photographer. It involves different skills.
Yeah.
When you were at university, did they show you was any part of your course about how to control people, how to deal with
No.
people?
No.
Right? It probably wasn't. So while we've been talking here, I just typed into, become a qualified wedding photographer, and Indeed, which is a career, finding a job website, says, what's a wedding photographer? So this is jobs about wedding photographers. It says a wedding photographer is a professional who captures special moments in photos at wedding celebrations. They record memorable scenes and details throughout the wedding day. For example, they may photograph the moment when a couple exchanges rings and vows during the ceremony. Working as a photographer allows you to develop creativity, communication, interpersonal and technical skills. Wedding photographers may also document the wedding celebration by framing or organizing photos into an album. So this is how to become a wedding photographer. The first steps, it says, learn about photography.
Okay. I mean, it's if
Right.
they have to highlight that, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. The first step to become a wedding photographer is to learn about photography. Number 2.
And also, sorry,
with-
if I just may jump in there, it's very ambiguous, isn't it? Learn about, well, what do you mean? Sorry, do you want me to just research photography for a day and I've learned about photography? I mean, what does that mean? And that's the problem there.
Yeah, to be fair to them, they say you can learn by reading blog articles from other photographers, attending workshops, looking up online resources, and practicing your art. You can also take
Online
short courses in
resources.
photography.
Short courses in photography. That's not enough for a wedding photographer. It's not enough.
No. So number 2, network with other photographers. Okay, so it's all very easy to say, I want to become a wedding photographer, and someone says, right, okay, you could learn how to take photography. Okay, great. Okay, let's tick box one. Network with other photographers. Right, how do I do that? Networking is basically a complete. It's got nothing to do with photography. It's all to do with marketing yourself. So then, does that mean that you need to go and do a marketing course of some sort? Okay. Number 3.
Or do they mean networking, doing what you did? Before you became a wedding photographer, you latched onto this wedding photographer, didn't you? Who basically showed you the ropes.
Yeah, that's right. I latched on.
Yeah, sorry, that was bad.
Right, yeah.
Bad. But you know what I mean. But there's nothing wrong with latching on. That's what you should be doing. You should be latching onto someone and sucking them dry of all the information that
it does say, actually. Yeah, you're right, because actually what it does say is wedding photographers can also mentor you throughout your career. So it's having a mentor as well.
That's probably a better way of putting
really
it.
Good. That's right. Yeah. It says about gaining experience. Okay, so you got to number 4, investing in photography equipment. So now you got to figure out budgets and those type of things and the right equipment to buy. So you got to have some knowledge. Number 5, create a portfolio. This relates back to being a good knowing photography. Number 6 and number 7 says price your services, and number 6 and number 7 says advertise your services. So it's that thing. You are incredibly good at what you do. Okay, let's just say that you want to become a plumber. We mentioned a plumber earlier on.
Yeah.
Okay, or you want to become a graphic designer. Okay, or you want to become a car mechanic. And what you're particularly good at when it comes to cars actually is not mechanics, but the paintwork. Let's say you're you're a specialist paintwork, bodywork. That's it. Now you're amazing, absolutely fantastic at what you do, and you set up your own business, but you've got no idea how to market yourself. So you're there, and you are brilliant, but nobody knows about you.
That's not really what I'm talking about, though, Cam. I don't think that's really the issue. If you can't market yourself, that's your problem. At the end of the day. Okay, that doesn't matter. What I'm really talking about here is the confidence in a client to know that this wedding photographer has the basic skills to get me some decent wedding photos. Yeah, that is what I'm talking about. So if I bring in an electrician, which I did, when me and my wife, we moved into our house, we had all the electrics changed in our house. Okay, we knew that the electrician we had the certificates in place. So basically the electrics that he's going to put in is not going to burn the house down. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't care how he advertises. That's up to him. But I'm talking about it's that confidence, because this wedding photographer, the basis of what we're talking about, this wedding photographer showed up late, didn't provide images, and was generally rubbish. Right? We need to get rid of those people from our industry, don't we? and or make those people better. It's not about kicking people out as such. It's also about, no, you need to be able to do this, 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 and this.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
if you don't have the attitude to do it, or if you don't, no, then you ain't getting this
Mm.
qualification, and you cannot
Mm.
advertise yourself as a wedding photographer.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I was saying, really,
Yeah.
because there are so many different parts to your job as being a wedding photographer. Photography is only a little bit of it, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the website there goes through all the different roles, and you have to become a communicator. You have to become an organizer. You have to be an editor. You have to have a lot of different skills and be able
Yeah,
to do them at the drop of a hat as well. And how good are you at that? And are you going to meet that client's needs? Yeah. I think there's a lot of photographers out there that would listen to this and say, yeah, definitely. And it's probably photographers like you and I that have been in it for a long time. But I think there's also a lot of photographers who have come into the industry in sort of, well, not just I'll say recently, but from whenever, who were thinking, well, I just wanted a career change and I love taking pictures. So
yeah. I
you
want to take
can't,
some pictures, and
yeah, you
yeah.
can't stop me from doing that. And that's what I want to do.
But if
And
you're ruining someone's day, and it
mm,
is a massive emotional thing,
mm,
um, that I think, and it doesn't have to be difficult. You
mm,
could do it in all sorts of ways. Let's say I was starting out as a wedding photographer. I mean, I'm sure you don't mind me saying, but you've got I think there's about 10 years between us, isn't there? Let's say. So
mm,
let's say I started in my, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, and I found you and you took me on. You could then vouch for me for this qualification because I'd have been
mm,
taking X amount. I'd have these projects to do from this
mm,
board, whatever it is. I have to take X amount of bride shots, X amount of group shots. I have to, and because you would already be a member of this thing, because you wouldn't be a
mm,
wedding photographer otherwise, then you can then sign it off,
mm,
and that's how you do it, I guess. Um, Maybe some university courses could do something similar if they're able to have more hands-on experience.
mm,
But I do think having that standard, I'm not, after that, you can still have better photographers than other photographers. I'm talking about a standard that means that they are going to produce you a set of images that you're going to be pleased with that are basically good. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? You might have some sort of style that you wanted, and maybe they haven't done the style, but that's preferences aside. I'm talking about, you know, attitude, being there, taking good pictures, not taking pictures that are overexposed or out of focus, or And there was another wedding photographer I think I saw a story of. I think we talked about it years ago about she was just in the booth all the time taking her own selfies in the photo booth, stuff like that. Um, that's it. Having that bottom line standard, and I think maybe that should be a thing. I don't know.
yeah. I think the biggest qualification now is that for a lot of photographers, you've got to become the bride's best friend.
Well,
That-
yeah. I mean,
that's that's what a lot of photographers seem to be doing now. They suddenly want to become the bride and groom's, the bride's best friend all of a sudden now. Oh, and
if
by the
that's
way,
a
I'm a
yeah,
photographer as well.
if that's a thing,
Which just sort of like sort of just so it takes the it takes the Mickey out of everything, really, in a
well,
way
it
of
it
the
it
hard working professionals, I guess, doesn't it?
it does, and it actually can ruin some friendships as well. Um,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
another story we
definitely.
did who didn't they delete all the images because they wouldn't provide a meal for them and they were friends or something like
Yeah, there was
that.
something like that, wasn't there? That's
And
right.
there was
Yeah.
another one who
Yeah.
wanted to invite a photographer as their wedding guest so then they could do the photography for free because they did that for a friend and all that kind of stuff. You get rid of all of that with this. Doesn't mean that friends can't shoot wedding photography, by the way. I'm just saying you wouldn't be able to advertise yourself as a professional entity without this
Yeah.
qualification or this
Yeah, I think that's
standard.
the thing. I think if you were able to say I'm such and such photography, and and meet the qualifications of a government board, that's
Yeah,
what it will be.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've met the criteria. You've spent maybe, and it should be maybe something that's like 2 years long or something. You
Yeah,
have to see this through, and there's a commitment to it.
yeah,
And then when couples do book, it might well be that they're not still not happy with your photos, but it could well be that your photos still meet a certain standard. It's just that
Yes.
you just don't like your expressions or something.
Yeah, I think we protect photographers as well,
Yeah,
because
that's right.
you do have a
Yeah.
lot of photographers who've done. There's nothing wrong with their work. Absolutely nothing wrong with their work, but you do get some couples who are like, no, don't like it because of this, and you think,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah.
know, and just basically out of order clients, you do get them. You know, let's shock horror. They do
Yeah.
exist,
Yes.
and it would protect you with that as well. Because if you're saying, well, look, you know, I've got this standard, you know, I've met all the criteria here. You have nothing to complain about here.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we all have our contracts and things can be put into contracts, and that's something else. But it's that basic standard, so people don't get, I've got nothing, or I've got out of focus shots, or you know.
And anyone thinking getting into wedding photography, I'm going to finish off by saying, just be aware that people now are far quicker to complain about anything and everything much quicker than they ever were. And
Yeah.
as a wedding photographer, you really have to be prepared to open yourself up to a lot of different things. Yeah, and that's just the way people are, and that's I'm going to finish on that.
Okay, I think that's a good way to finish up. I don't think I can't see this happening, to be honest with you. But it'd be nice. And please put comments down on both the stories that we've spoken about today. It'd be good to know what you guys think. We're on all the socials, as you heard at the beginning of the episode there. Comment under YouTube or whatever it is. We really are interested to know what people think. If you want to email us, do it that way. That's absolutely fine too. With that though, Cam, we need to give a shout out to our patrons. So yes, I think we do have. Again, I don't think we've got any new ones. It's kind of slowed down a little bit, hasn't it? But we got Nick Payne. So shout out to Nick Payne, Amara Zainab, and I think it's Carl Sherple. Sherville, Becky. I always get Carl's name right. I'm sorry, Carl. We do like you being here. So yeah, Carl Sherville, thank you very much. And with that, I think that's it for this week, and we'll be there to speak to you again next week.
Cheers, guys.